Do you feel it too? An invisible force pulling you into your own head, creating storms no one sees, stealing your peace without asking permission. The restless mind becomes a silent jailer, and without realizing it, you start living by reacting, running, fearing, as a prisoner of something that was meant to serve you. But there is a way out, an ancient way, harsh, unforgiving, and liberating. The Stoics called it the art of mastering oneself. And when you learn this art, when you understand what you truly control, you stop being wounded by anything external. Nothing touches you, nothing shakes you, nothing destroys you. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel now, because if you're here, seeking this kind of wisdom, it's because you already feel it's time to take command of your life. Hit the subscribe button, leave a like, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this, someone losing internal battles they don't need to lose. And now, breathe deeply, because what you're about to hear is not motivation. It's confrontation, it's a mirror, it's the kind of truth that changes the way you move in the world, and finally, brings peace inside your own mind. If this message already touched something inside you, comment a sentence describing what you felt so far. You probably noticed how your mind fires off before you even know what's happening. Reaction comes before awareness, impulse before choice, and when you finally realize, you've already said what you shouldn't, done what you regret, and crossed lines you swore you wouldn't cross again. The undisciplined mind is like a wild horse, powerful but dangerous when untrained, and it drags you to places you promised never to return to. And here lies the first shock. You think you're in control, but most of the time you're just a passenger of your emotions. Anger drives you, fear paralyzes you, anxiety squeezes your chest and convinces you something terrible will happen. You believe everything your mind says because no one taught you to question your own thoughts. But here's what almost no one admits. Your mind lies. It exaggerates, it dramatizes, it creates monsters. If these words are helping you see something you've ignored for too long, leave a comment now. Your engagement helps this message reach more people. The undisciplined mind turns small situations into emotional storms. A strange look, a message seen and not answered, a tiny criticism. And suddenly your head creates an entire movie, assumptions, imaginary dialogues, tragic endings. Stoicism reminds you, none of that is real. It's just projection, a shadow, a distorted reflection. Epictetus said it is not things that disturb us, but the opinions we have about them. And when you understand this, you realize how much of your emotional life is controlled by automatic interpretations. You don't suffer because something happened. You suffer because your mind told a story about what happened, and that story is rarely fair, wise, or proportional. If you're feeling this impact, subscribe now so you don't miss the next insight. The problem is that you grow up believing your feelings are absolute truths, that everything you feel must be followed, fed, validated. But the truth is different. Feelings are signals, not orders. Emotions are waves, not chains. They pass, as long as you don't cling to them as if they were your identity. And when you learn to observe emotion without merging with it, something extraordinary happens. Anger shows up, but doesn't take control. Fear appears, but doesn't dictate your actions. Anxiety knocks at the door, but you don't let it move in. It's as if you change positions. You stop being the stage and become the spectator. If this makes sense to you, comment one word describing what you most want to master: fear, anger, anxiety, or attachment. The mind only becomes a tool once you learn to put it in its rightful place. And that place is not the throne, it's the passenger seat. The throne belongs to reason, to consciousness, to the part of you that observes, decides, chooses. And when this shift happens, you stop being a slave and become the leader of yourself. There's a silent war happening inside you, even though no one sees it. a battle between what you feel and what you know, between what you want and what you must do, between your impulsive self and your conscious self. It's like carrying two wolves inside your mind, one hungry for emotional control, the other wild and reactive, and every day you feed one of them with your actions, whether you notice it or not. Most people live in internal chaos without understanding where it comes from. They think it's the job, the family, the circumstances, but the real enemy is the mental noise that never stops. Thoughts racing, memories looping, imaginary conversations, multiplying worries. It's not the world that exhausts you, it's your mind making too much noise. If this echoes something inside you, leave a comment now. Your participation strengthens this community. The ego enters this battle like an arrogant general. It wants to be right, to be recognized, to be admired. It makes you react instead of respond. It makes you argue, prove, push, defend. The ego wants to win, but reason wants peace. And the conflict between the two creates fractures inside you, small emotional cracks that become abysses when ignored. Subscribe now if this message is already opening something inside you. Don't let this journey stop halfway. The most dangerous part of this war is that it's invisible to others, but painfully real to you. You smile on the outside while fighting internal battles no one imagines. And this contrast between what you show and what you feel creates a silent weight, a draining exhaustion that corrodes your energy, your presence, even your identity. The Stoics understood this deeply. The most powerful enemy is not external, but internal. Not the chaos out there, but the chaos in here. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a disciplined mind is the most impenetrable fortress, and an undisciplined one, the cruelest prison. If this truth touched you, comment a sentence describing the internal war you fight the most. Sometimes naming the enemy is the first step to defeating it. And remember, in this war you don't need to eliminate the conflict, but learn to lead it. You don't win by silencing fear, but by understanding where it comes from. You don't win by crushing the ego, but by putting it in its proper place. You don't win by killing the noise, but by creating space inside your mind, so calm becomes stronger than chaos. Imagine two people facing the same chaos. One loses control, reacts impulsively, lets anger take the wheel. The other remains firm, lucid, breathing deeply like a mountain that does not bend to the wind. The difference between them is not luck, not genetics, not fate. It's choice. The choice of which battles are worth the energy and which should be allowed to pass like clouds in the sky. Most people fight unnecessary wars. They argue over what won't change, get offended by what doesn't matter, enter fights that drain energy. But the world doesn't cause your suffering. You suffer because you try to control everything, even the uncontrollable. Stoic art begins when you understand that not every battle is yours. And many you insist on fighting are just vanity, wounded ego, or the need to prove something. If this makes sense, leave your comment now. Your engagement keeps this message alive. Think about the last time you reacted on autopilot, maybe in traffic to criticism or someone's opinion. The truth is, none of that had power over you until you handed it that power. When you react, you give control away. When you respond, you reclaim control. This tiny difference changes everything and turns crises into clarity. If this insight awakens something in you, subscribe. You can't miss the next chapters. The Stoics taught that you shouldn't fight everything, but only what truly matters. True strength is not winning all battles, but choosing few and winning them consciously. When you stop entering other people's chaos, when you refuse provocations, when you observe before acting, you become dangerous. Dangerous in the best sense, unshakable. And here's what no one told you. Most of the conflicts you face are just reflections of other people's internal chaos. They're not yours. They never were. Yet you carry them as if they were, as if you were obligated to respond, explain, defend. Comment now. I choose my battles. This is your first commitment to your own peace. When you learn this art, something shifts in your posture. You stop being pushed by life and begin moving strategically. The world stays chaotic, but you don't. People stay agitated, but you don't. The storm keeps roaring, but you learn to walk inside it without losing direction, and that is one of the greatest powers a human mind can achieve. People confuse detachment with coldness. They think being detached means not loving, not feeling, not caring. But Stoic detachment is not the absence of emotion. It's freedom within emotion. It's refusing to let what you cannot control steal your peace, your identity, your center. It's loving without losing yourself, caring without self-destruction, feeling without drowning. The world tries to convince you that you must hold on to everything, relationships, results, opinions, expectations, but the more you hold, the more it hurts. And what the Stoics discovered is brutally simple. You suffer because you try to control what isn't yours. Life asks for movement, but you insist on gripping what should flow. And the price of this attachment is your freedom. If this touched you, comment now. Sometimes one of your words inspires someone else here. Think of how many times you were hurt because you expected something to be different from what it was. You expected someone to understand you, expected a situation to change, expected the past to have been different. But here's the truth. None of that is in your hands. Pain is born from expectation, not reality. Reality is neutral. What hurts is what you project onto it. If this message is bringing clarity, subscribe now. You can't miss what's next. Detachment is power because it gives back what has always been yours, control over your own energy. When you release what you cannot change, space appears for what truly matters. When you stop trying to fix others, strength returns to fix yourself. When you stop demanding from the universe, you start building your own path. And here's where the philosophy gets deeper. Detachment isn't abandonment, it's allowance. Allowing things to be as they are, allowing people to follow their paths, allowing time to do the work you cannot do. It's an act of wisdom, not coldness. Comment now. I release what I cannot control. Say it to remind yourself of your power. When you distance yourself emotionally from what's beyond your control, you realize much of what hurt you was never yours. They were borrowed weights, inherited expectations, pains you carried out of habit. Detachment is the delicate art of returning all that to its rightful place, and finally walking lightly. Holding on hurts more than losing. No one told you this, but the pain that destroys you the most doesn't come from what left. It comes from what you insist on keeping, even knowing it no longer makes sense. Relationships you hold on to out of fear, expectations out of ego, memories out of habit. And each one consumes a piece of your vital energy without giving anything back. The mind forms a strange attachment to familiar suffering. We prefer holding on to pain than facing the sacred emptiness. But emptiness is rebirth. It's where you breathe again, rebuild, cleanse, find yourself. It's not an ending, it's the space before transformation. And as long as you refuse to let go, you remain imprisoned by what has already died inside you. If this made sense, comment now. Your voice may awaken someone who needs this. The discipline of letting go is one of the hardest because it requires courage. Courage to face the truth, to accept something is over, to admit you cannot control the flow of life. But the Stoics learned and taught that everything that is not yours by nature is destined to leave. Nothing stays, nothing belongs. Life is alone. If this message is touching you, subscribe. Don't let this journey stop halfway. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means stopping the self-inflicted damage. It means refusing to carry what is too heavy, what takes more than it gives, what pulls you backward instead of forward. It's the moment you look at yourself with brutal honesty and say, I deserve better than this. And when you let go, something always happens. Energy flows again. Creativity returns. Peace finds you. You realize what felt indispensable was actually just familiar. But familiar is not necessary. Familiar is simply what you got used to carrying. Comment now. I allow myself to let go. Your words carry power. This declaration can shift something inside you. The discipline of letting go is really the discipline of trusting the flow, the timing, life itself. Trusting that when something leaves, something greater has space to enter. Trusting that your hands were made to move, not to imprison. And when you understand this, you realize you never lost anything. You simply returned to the universe what was never truly yours. Your mind is like a room, a sacred space, a place where only what you permit should enter. But without noticing, you leave the door open. And when the door stays open, everything walks in. Worries, painful memories, imagined fears, other people's opinions, voices that are not yours. Suddenly, your own mental room no longer belongs to you. Imagine someone entering your physical room, touching your things, throwing objects around, opening drawers, criticizing the decoration. Would you allow it? Of course not. But when it comes to your mind, you let any thought walk in and make a mess. No filter, no boundary, no order. And internal chaos is born exactly from this lack of vigilance. If this spoke to you, comment now. Your reflection may spark someone else's awakening. The Stoics compared the mind to a temple. A temple is not filled with any noise, dirt, or presence. It must be guarded, protected, filtered. And what you think, what you allow to stay, determines the energy that fills the entire space. Your mind can be a shelter or a landfill of emotional garbage. If this insight brought clarity, subscribe now to keep strengthening your inner world. A mind with doors too open lets any criticism destroy you, any opinion confuse you, any threat paralyze you. You absorb everything, you carry everything, you feel everything amplified. And that's not sensitivity, it's lack of boundaries. The mind without boundaries becomes a slave to the world. The mind with boundaries becomes sovereign. Closing the door doesn't mean isolating yourself. It means choosing what enters, saying, this doesn't serve me, this isn't mine, this doesn't deserve space inside me. It's the conscious act of protecting your peace as your most valuable possession. Comment now, I guard the space of my mind. Your words reinforce your intention. When you learn to guard your mind, you notice the world loses much of the power it had over you. Criticism knocks but doesn't enter. Fear tries to invade, but you lock the door. Anxiety arrives, but you decide it won't live there. And in that moment, you reclaim the territory that was always yours. There is an invisible shield that protects you from emotional chaos, and it's not mystical or abstract. It's practical, trainable, built gradually like a muscle. The Stoics called it the discipline of the mind. And this discipline begins with small daily practices that strengthen your clarity, your presence, and your ability to stay centered even when everything around you is falling apart. One of them is journaling, writing down what you feel, think, fear, desire, putting on paper what confuses your mind. When you write, you separate the you who feels from the you who observes. Emotion stops being a storm and becomes a sentence. It stops dominating you and becomes something you can analyze. The mind screams less when it has somewhere to release. If this resonates, comment now. Your reflection strengthens those walking with you. Another powerful practice is premeditatio malorum, consciously imagining difficulties before they happen. Not to suffer ahead of time, but so you're not surprised when life gets hard. When you anticipate the obstacle, it loses half its impact. The prepared mind suffers less and reacts better. If this idea awakens something, subscribe. We still have much to explore. The third pillar of this shield is presence, being here, now. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, not in what might have been. The Stoics knew that much of human suffering comes from mental displacement, either nostalgia that paralyzes or anxiety that distorts. When you train your attention to remain in the present moment, life stops being a maze and becomes a clear path. Together, These practices build an internal shield no one can take from you. People may shout, but you don't break. Life may test you, but you don't fall apart. Chaos may roar, but you remain centered like a silent warrior standing before the storm. Comment now. I build my inner shield. This sentence is a commitment to your own evolution. And when you integrate these disciplines, something profound happens. You become emotionally untouchable. Not because you don't feel, but because you feel without being destroyed. Not because you don't suffer, but because you know how to walk through pain. Not because you're cold, but because you're conscious. This is the true power of Stoicism, not turning you into stone, but into someone who stays whole in a world constantly trying to break you. In the end, the greatest battle was always inside you. Not against the world, not against people, not against fate, but against the part of your mind that still fears, still reacts, still tries to hold you back. And now that you've walked through each block, you realize the strength you sought wasn't out there. It was always inside you, silent and waiting for you to take command. The question now is simple and profound. What will you do with all this? Will you return to old patterns or become the guardian of your own mind? Will you keep living as a slave to your emotions or finally rise as the ruler of your inner fortress? Will you just listen or will you practice? The choice is yours. It always has been. Before you go, leave a like, comment what touched you most in this journey, and subscribe to the channel to keep evolving, because this is only the beginning. Just remember this, when you master your mind, nothing in the world can master you. Did you like this or do you want adjustments? Your full script is complete.